Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Who am I? I'm doing an impression, Sharon. You're not getting it.
Oh, okay. I was seeing you as cold. I was like, wrong card, but now I see what I thought you were cold. It's going for a different card. I'm awake. I even know what we're doing.
So much for all my years on the West End stage.
Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah. Four of Coins, Four of Pentacles, whatever you want to call him. I remember the first time I was introduced to this character. Maybe it was just the wording that the person used, but I thought, what a horrible little man. I don't like you at all. That was my first impression, which was kind of, as I say, guided by somebody else giving their, telling me what the cards meant. But he can be a horrible little man, can't he?
Yes. Like a miser. I learned him as a miser and a greedy little man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, very traditional meaning for him.
Yes.
And a bit of a show off too. Like, look what I got. Oh, you ever seen that Eddie Murphy skit? I got some ice cream and you can't have none.
No. But I get what you're saying. What film's that from then?
It's from one of his comedy routines. It's
no.
hysterical.
Yeah, I love Eddie Murphy.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
God.
no. I mean, this is a person who is very clinging on to what very possessive, super possessive. I would say this is the most possessive of all the tarot cards.
Yes.
And with possessiveness, in normal life or whatever, I associate that sometimes with jealousy, possessiveness. And so, I have to kind of wonder whether this card crosses over into that or not. I mean, it indicates possessiveness. But
yes, absolutely it does. And I don't think it would be a far stretch or a stretch at all to see jealousy, because the way he's got that coin on his head displayed. Look what I have. So I think if somebody had more than him, he would find a way to show that he had more.
Yeah, insecure, very insecure.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's a 4, even though like numerologically 4 might indicate stability, I just feel his stability is superficial. It's just, it's clung onto for dear life, really.
And in this case, I see that for the stability of the 4 as super fixed, not necessarily a good stability, just fixed.
Yes, yeah. But he is managing to balance that coin on his head, and it is staying on there. So something needs to be said for that. I mean, the other thing about him is, when I've shown this card to people who don't know the tarot at all and said, what do you think it means? Usually the first word that comes out of their mouth is king. That they'll go for the crown.
Well, there's been several times where, are you familiar with the story of King Midas?
I am now. I've heard of King Midas, and interestingly, I'm going to talk about him in one of the future.
Oh,
not with a great deal of expertise, but yes.
Yeah, he really makes me think of King Midas because of that possessiveness, and it does seem like everything he touches turns to gold.
Right.
But he doesn't share it, he doesn't circulate it into the economy. He holds very tightly to it. And I don't think it's just about money either. He's super unapproachable. Everything about him says stay away. He's even removed from society. It's way, way in the distance.
Oh
Everything
yeah.
about him
Yeah,
says,
absolutely. I think that's very relevant, that the fact he's not hidden, he's not hidden himself away in some attic or some cellar. He's actually taken it completely away from the city.
hmm and that could be. I had one student once that made me laugh so hard. He said, "That's just emotional constipation." It's like,
Wow. On the other hand, you could say that that is someone who's been to the city and has kind of, you know, he's gone to the big city and he's earned himself some sort of decent money, and he's, you know, and he's kind of proud and, you know, holding on to and saving what he's earned by going to work in the city. I mean, that would be reasonable to say for that
oh,
card.
heck yeah. And he's removed himself from any temptation to spend that money because he
Yes.
has a plan for it. And in this case, I don't think he's always a greedy man, but he may be saving for his child's university.
Yeah. He's definitely careful with money.
hmm
I would say he'd be very sensible with money, you know. I mean, he could be Scrooge, couldn't he? You know. Yeah, I mean, also, like, you know, yes, I'm aware of the fact that he's sitting down, but the immediate reaction is that he's short. You know, like, if you just look at it really quickly, it looks like a very short person.
Yeah, because his feet aren't actually, he like has to point his toes to get
Yeah,
his feet to touch the ground. So yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that. Never realized it before, but his feet don't touch the ground.
No, that's true. I don't think I've realised it before either. But it's just, if I was, you know, if I was asking a question like, what does this person look like? And that card came up, I'd go short.
Yep.
That would probably be the first thing that I would say. I mean, the other thing is he is looking straight at us as well. You've got to kind of like take that into consideration with this card. I mean, it's not even from the side. It's absolutely straight at us.
Yeah,
It's
looking us.
like, touch this if you dare.
Oh, oh, that could be that loan officer sitting across from you, just like, no, you're not totally not getting any of this.
Yeah.
Most of us have been in that
Yeah.
position where we're sitting across from the loan officer with that heart aflutter.
What do you think about the two coins that are under his feet? What is that all about?
To me, that's an indication that he will use every tool available to him to hold on to his money. That you know, it's not just in his arms held in that tight circle, but he's got his feet. He's reaching his feet as far as he can to firmly plant them. This is mine.
Yeah. And if it wasn't money that you were talking about, I feel like it's like, I am not budging on this situation. Like, I am not moving. I have made up my mind what I
Yeah.
want out of this situation, and this is non-negotiable. That's how it
Yeah.
feels. Yeah. Whether it's
Yeah.
about money or about a decision, anything. Yeah.
And I know we haven't done the Two of Swords yet, but I have to compare the two. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Whereas, you know, I see her as the not budging card, but she's also blindfolded and not looking at us. She don't confuse me with the facts. Just I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see you.
Right.
I don't care. He is looking directly at us. I think that we maybe could persuade him because he is either paranoid or interested in us enough to see us, but we may not matter to him. So,
Interesting. And the city in the background. Now and again, I'm I'm more feeling I'm sent the card because of the city than about him. I mean, it does sort of indicate a very built up, major, important city. Like, to me, that is New York, London. It could, I think it just could be any of the kind of the big commercial cities.
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
business and I don't know, the economy sort of happens, you know, where there's a big business sort of district. I don't think this is some little rural town. This is the tarot's version of a big built up city.
And when it's the city that catches your eye like that, it does not necessarily mean to stay away from the city, even though we're
No.
distanced from it. It may be compelling us to go to the city.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on exactly what the reading's about and what the card is answering at that sort of like point, but it could be about the buildings and not about him at all.
I never saw this before, but yeah, somebody taking a trip to New York. Yeah, hold on to your wallet, man. Don't
Oh,
get mugged.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like,
No, definitely. Or, you know, this is really going to kind of like cost you a lot. It's going to be, yeah, this is a big city. There's a lot to spend money on. So, you
yeah,
know, be warned.
yeah.
What about in reverse?
Right off the top of my head, and very often a shopping spree. You know how, like, I don't know if you've been through this or not, but in my life, we've gone through times, my husband and I, where every penny we make is towards bills, gas, food,
Yeah.
anything. So then we get a little extra leeway and we're like, yay, we're going shopping. It's like we go nuts, you know? And then we have this big guilt fest afterward for spending money on shit we didn't need.
Yeah.
It's that sometimes you need not to go crazy, but to spend a little bit outside of the plan to
Yeah.
do something special. Um, so that you don't snap and spend it all.
Yeah, that would definitely be Four of Coins reversed,
Yeah.
100%. Or just somebody kind of being a little bit less possessive about something, you know, just trusting something a little bit more and not being so clingy. I do see that as very clingy. It's if you were talking about a relationship, it's like, oh my God, you don't own me. Like, you know, if I let me do my thing. Don't be so clinginess is very ugly and off-putting, and I feel that in reverse it's somebody who's kind of got over their clinginess maybe, and who's
Yeah.
or I suppose it could also be someone who's even more clingy, but
It
can you
could.
get more clingy than that though? I don't know.
I don't know. He'd have to be sitting on a coin too, I think. But yeah,
Maybe
there
he
are those
is.
people that need you to live in their back pocket and want you with them all the time. And the harder
Yeah,
you hold on, the further you pull away.
yeah,
In reverse, so I would definitely say, ah, and see, he's so versatile to me as well, because he could be an easing up of the clinginess, or he could be an opening up of his emotions to another person to where he's not so unapproachable. Yeah.
yeah. He's quite an odd character. I mean, I feel that to get to know him would be quite hard work, because I just feel that he would hold on to things with, you know, do you know what I mean? I don't imagine that he would be someone that would be very kind of like chatty or immediately sort of telling you everything. Do you know what I mean? I just feel he would hold on to his personal information. That's private, that's mine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he would definitely make I would say he's probably good at boundaries of what is his or what he believes is his,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
know?
probably pretty forceful about those boundaries too.
Yeah. Sometimes it does look like he is someone in a car at a steering wheel. I mean, like, you know, just going completely differently with it. And I know we've got the Chariot and all of that thing, but do you know what I mean? It's almost like someone that's maybe just passed their driving test and is just out there for the first time, very nervous, like in their new car. But I can sometimes stretch myself to see that in this card that's got nothing to do with any of the traditional, you know, meanings whatsoever.
So, okay, this is a really stupid story, and you can tell me to cut it out if it doesn't make sense with the card, but what you just said about that new car. When I was about, I don't know, 11, we moved to Texas, and we took a plane, so we had to wait for our car to get to Texas. And my brother, he was 16, so he'd just gotten his driver's license. He was so excited to drive, and we had no vehicle. So we were going to go to Dairy Queen. It was within walking distance. And we walked out the door, and my mom says, "Sean, catch." And she threw nothing at him, but he caught on real quick, and he caught it. And he he pretended it was a set of keys, and he opened the invisible driver car seat, and we all walked to Dairy Queen kind of squatting like we were sitting in a car to let Sean drive.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story. What a memory.
I love that memory. And when you said new car, I didn't, the car was invisible. It made me think of that. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's a brilliant story. That is a brilliant story. Now you've said that, I'm thinking chitty chitty bang bang, you know, is that wow.
Let go and let your imagination,
I think this is Gretel at the moment because she's just passed her driving test, and all I'm getting every 5 minutes is text messages saying, "What about this car, mum? What about this car? Oh, look, this one's only like X amount deposit." And it's like that wheel on his head is kind of like, you know, it's all she could think about last week was, am I going to pass the driving test? Am I going to pass the driving test? Now it's, am I going to get the car? You know, it's
Oh my God. Yeah. My son is in that stage where he's always looking at cards and, look, mom, this one's only $10,000.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Only, yeah, it's
That's
only
all,
this.
huh?
Yeah. No, I kind of like feel there is a little bit more to him than just some mean miser kind of person.
Well, fixed earth.
Very much
Very
so.
commonsensical, if you think about it. A lot of common sense there. So it truly, truly could be that he is saving for the future.
Yeah.
And that he's going without now so that he knows he
Yeah.
has a stable future ahead of him.
Absolutely. And I do get quite a few people asking for readings on sort of like buying a house or selling a house, that sort of thing. And I think he'd be, especially with the buildings in the background, I think he'd be a very useful card to come up in that kind of context. And that's a very common thing for a reader to get. I mean, it could be saying you will get what your house is worth. On the other hand, it could say, make sure, stick to your guns. And don't accept any less than what your house, the value of your house, make sure you get it. It could
Absolutely.
say that you will get what your house is worth. I think that could be quite a positive card in the upright position for the sale of a house or for the purchase of a house for the right amount of money.
Right, because he is being frugal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the reverse position, I just feel I would not feel so confident about that for a house sale or a house purchase in the reverse position. So you really do have to put the cards into context to know, especially a card like this, whether to read it in a good light or, or the kind of like the more unattractive side of him.
Yeah. He's a complicated. He's complex.
Yeah.
He's not just, you've got to go with your intuition and you've got to go with what question you're answering.
I think I have said about him before, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I've said when it comes to someone's appearance, and he's come up, I've said this is a person who will spend money on their footwear, that likes to wear nice shoes.
He does have nice shoes, those red shoes. He's actually, I mean, he's dressed like a
Yeah,
king.
but the fact that his feet are on those two coins, it's like he's spending. I just feel that spending money on decent footwear is important to him.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, my friend that I grew up with, who I used to go like to nightclubs with when we were of that age, that was the sort of boyfriend she was looking for. They had to be wearing the right shoes, otherwise it was a non-starter. Seriously, I don't know if people are like that now. But
No, I've never really spent money on shoes, right? I used to never have more than one pair of shoes at a time. It's like I have one pair of feet, I just need one pair of shoes.
Yeah.
It hasn't been till recently that I've discovered accessorizing. And so I had gone to a job interview, and it
Yeah.
wasn't but 10 years ago maybe. And I had on I thought they were nice shoes. And this woman looked at my feet, and I was dressed nice, and she said, "You can always tell white trash from their shoes." I wanted to punch that.
Oh my God.
That was the rudest,
I'm
one of the rudest.
saying that to you, you
It
know.
was, yep, yep, just that, looking down her nose, and they were new shoes, but they were white trash shoes, obviously. Kiss
But
my.
no, but there are people who do absolutely spend a fortune on shoes, that have got hundreds of pairs of shoes, you know, and they're all expensive brands and all that sort of thing. I'm drawn to that in terms of, if someone said, how does he dress? I would say, you'll notice his shoes. And I feel that they'll be good shoes because they're
Yeah,
on the money, you know?
yeah.
So I get that out of it as well. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I've particularly got out of this card in a reading. But yeah, I have had footwear and a short person. I've had that out of it.
One thing, and this is really weird, but one of the
Yeah.
things that I notice about this card that I do not particularly notice in others is his mouth. His mouth has more color and detail than
Yeah.
any of the other cards. So
Yeah.
he's, even though he's unapproachable, I find him, like, that would be more of a, if you could get past his defenses, he's probably pretty damn sensual. That's a very sensual colored mouth. A little bit
Right.
pouty, a little bit pouty, but his mouth has more detail. That could either be that when he does speak, he might be one of
Okay.
the
Yeah.
people that doesn't speak a lot, but when he does
No,
speak,
he has got a noticeable mouth,
yep.
and he's got quite a sort of, he catches your eye with his eyes as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I have a friend named, well, I won't say her name, but you probably know her. But she almost never speaks. Very, very rarely speaks. But when she does, everybody around her goes, "Oh my God, that was genius."
Right.
That could be, he might be one of those people who's very spare with his words, but what is that, E.F.? When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen, type of
Oh.
thing. As a commercial in the United States several years ago.
So
So it could be.
I brought along the Radiant Rider-Waite just to sort of make a comparison between the two, because I thought it'd be quite good to compare two cards that are really, really similar. So if you could show that picture, Sharon. So it's a much smaller card, and I just kind of think, all reading with the Radiant, you're conscious of the fact that you've got these little cards, but the whole thing is just so much brighter and more colourful, and the shoes look real. All the coins actually look really, really, really golden. I mean, you know, when you're talking about the Midas touch, I think it's a lot more noticeable in the Radiant deck. It really is. And the other interesting thing, I'm just putting it under the light here, he has got a different face. It's a different man.
He looks happy.
Yeah.
He looks content. Like he looks way more relaxed. The
Yeah.
head of his head, the look on his face,
Yeah.
the look in his eyes.
I know. It's a different person. Do you know what it reminds me of? It sounds like a weird thing, but because I was in Les Miserables, I know I'm always mentioning it, because I was in Les Miserables for a long time, that show has been running for 30 years. The casts come and go. Now, you know, we all sing the same songs, we sing the same words, we wear the same costumes, the same wigs, we do the same, you know, direction, but if you look harder, it's a different person playing the part. And what I'm getting out of the Radiant Rider-Waite is, yes, it's very similar, you know, and it would be so easy just to jump to the same, you know, interpretation that you would have done if you were working with, I don't know, the traditional Rider-Waite. But it is actually a different deck. It's a different person playing the part, even though he's doing the same thing. He's doing it. It's not that one that's doing it. It's this person that's doing it. And so he's got his own kind of like version of it. It's much brighter. The buildings in the background are all much brighter. It looks like that there's a lot of kind of wealth coming from that city behind him, because the city is almost like glowing. Do you know what I mean? With kind of business going on and work. It just doesn't have that meanness about it. It just more has, I'm so thrilled. I've kind of gone to the city and I've made some money, and I just want to kind of, I'm just so proud of what I've made and what I've achieved. It just has got a whole different vibe to it altogether. Incidentally, I mean, and obviously this is not exclusive to this card, but on these cards here, the originals, I've got the number 4 is written in Roman numerals, whereas on the Radiant, on this small deck of the Radiant, it's the word for, F-O-U-R, you know, it actually says at the bottom the word Pentacles, whereas we don't have a word on the kind of traditional. I mean, I happen to work with a coins deck where they've taken off the Pentacles and they've made it coins instead, so that's a slight difference to other people's Rider-Waites, you know.
But you're so right. Those tiny differences, especially in color, will respond to your intuition in a different way. I have you know, one of my favorite decks is the WS squared. My friend Gretchen Short made it. It's Rider-Waite, Waite-Smith and Short. And she took the original line work, but she recolored it much more vibrant and much more strongly in the way she thought it would be beautiful. And one thing she did was she made all the feminine cards, like the suits of coins and the suit of cups. She made the coins and the cups silver. And for the wands and the swords, she made them gold. So she gave the feminine swords the feminine color and the masculine swords the masculine color.
Okay, yes.
And just that tiny difference, I see so much more in those cards than I ever would see in the Rider-Waite. Because of the vibrancy and the color of them, they speak to me a lot more. And there are people who will argue and tell you that the colors in the original Rider-Waite are magical and alchemical and they need to remain the same. But we've got to remember that Waite actually he got in trouble from the Golden Dawn for making a mass deck for us regular people. Um, and in order to keep himself from getting in too much trouble, he actually changed information or flat out lied what some symbolism meant. There it is. It was done to protect those secrets of the society. However, they work. They work for us. The tarot is something that is always in evolution. It's always revising itself. It's always up with the times.
Yeah.
So not only that, not only were we given misinformation, but also if you think about the technology that they had for printing, they only
Yeah.
had a certain set of colors they could
Yes.
only use, and then there were misprints, miscolorations. So these colors may or may not have that esoteric importance, but for divination purposes, it's how your intuition responds.
Yeah.
For divination purposes, recolorations are acceptable. Long spiel, sorry.
No, no, no. It's interesting, and I definitely feel that colors trigger emotions. You know, it's like you can go into a shop and put something on that comes in one color and it makes you look washed out, and the same thing in another color just makes you look sexy or whatever. You know, colors do matter. They do matter. And it was interesting because someone in our one of our groups, in our Facebook group, actually, if anyone wants to join, right? But in our Facebook group, did ask like how long you should take to get used to a new deck, because obviously it had taken them months to learn to kind of get used to reading the tarot with the normal Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and if they were doing it on a new deck. And the answer was it does depend on the deck. Now I feel that there would be a huge temptation to feel that you could immediately read something like the Radiant Rider-Waite because the images are virtually the same. There's a certain degree of truth in that, but I do think you need to kind of be mindful at the very least that you are reading with a different deck and there are going to be differences. I don't think it would take you months to learn to sort of read with the Radiant Rider-Waite deck. I think if you were good, I just think you just need to be mindful that it is a different deck.
Familiar with the different colors and open to the different interpretations that you would get for that.
Like that this guy is a different man.
Yeah, totally.
Do you know what this reminds me of? I'm not going to lie, but I did once go on a sort of Tinder type date, right? That sort of thing. And when the guy turned up, it wasn't the same guy from the photo.
False advertisement, man.
But I just thought it's not like, oh my God, he's put a photo of him 10 years ago or something like that. That is not him.
Period.
I know a different person when I see one, and this is not the person that I was expecting.
Wow, what a way to start a
oh no, well, I'm just saying that happens, and I'm very conscious of the fact that this is a different man, and I just feel okay. So if you were reading, I don't know that reading would say, this is going to be a different person to what you were expecting. I don't know. I don't know that, because you probably would be reading with one deck or the other. But if you were reading, for argument's sake, with two decks at the same time, which I sometimes do, I'm sure you do as well, and the same card was to come up, you just might be aware of the fact that there's two sides to this person, or there is a different person. It just might be important that it's a different person. That's my point.
That's a very good point, and that does show the true fluidity of the tarot. The worst thing we can do is trap ourselves into any kind of keyword or rut, and that includes from deck to deck, because if you're looking at the radiant wise, it is a different deck, and you do not. I seen one of the main things I see is people buy a new deck that is Rider-Waite based but has the completely different image sometimes, and they still try to superimpose the meaning that they got from Rider-Waite into that card. It's a travesty.
I know. Well, I did it myself. before I kind of learned better. I
Yeah,
think it's a natural kind of reaction, isn't
it
it? Yeah.
is. And even, if you look at our decks of the weeks, we will actually often say this piece is missing. So, that we don't like it because it's too different from Rider-Waite, or we
Yeah.
like it because it's so different from Rider-Waite, depending on which. But
It's funny, isn't it? It's a bit like a recording artist doing a cover of a well-known song, and sometimes they will do it. They'll be very, very similar to the original, but they might change little bits just to make it their own, and it works really well. And sometimes they'll just go a completely different way with it, and sometimes that can work really well as well. And sometimes you think, why have they bothered? Why have they actually bothered to do it? Like, this is just not. There's a perfectly great original, and this just does not come anywhere close to it.
yeah. Yeah, you just reminded me of a cover I just heard from. Do you know the band called The Who? The HU? The
Oh no, I know the WHO.
Yeah, the Who. These are the Who, and they're I don't even know how to describe them. Mongolian heavy metal. It's
Oh,
beautiful.
okay.
It's amazing. They did a cover of a Metallica song, and I didn't even realize they did it in their way, because they used the instruments from Mongolia, and they have that
Oh,
beautiful
okay.
voice, the warble,
I
the
know what you
way they
mean. Yeah.
sing. And but once I realized it was a Metallica song, I was like, oh my God, that was badass, because they did it in their language, and they did it in their format, their style, and even
Okay.
Metallica was like, whoa. Metallica actually shared the video. They were like blown away. It was so good, and it's so different that a lot of people said, I hate it. That's
Right.
But I think the majority of the people were just like, that was badass. I love that band.
Uh,
I love that band.
oh
They're
my God, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I kind of think it's kind of the same sort of thing, isn't it? It's like
totally.
it's covering something that's very well established, and something like the Radiant Rider-Waite as kind of like, okay, so I've got this very small version, which I think a lot of people have got. And what is really nice about this, hang on if I can find it, is it comes, I'm not going to do this deck of the week, and I'm sure lots of people have got this, but it comes in this little tin,
Yeah. Well, my
so you
husband
can
has
carry
that
it
deck.
around in your handbag. It's absolutely lovely. But you can just get it on Amazon. It's not something that unusual. But essentially, on the face of it, it is the same as the traditional deck, but it isn't. The colours are very different, and there is a full size Radiant, I should say, as well, that doesn't come in the little tin. You can get the normal size with all the Radiant colours. But the colours are very different, but there are other differences as well. And I was going to show that on one of the other cards that we're doing today as well, just to sort of pull out the differences. But I can see the point of why they made that deck, even though it's very, very similar. Those bright colours speak to you in their own way. That's the main difference.
The Rider-Waite on its own is first blush, and I've for years resisted it because I just thought it was ugly and dull. But once I learned it, I like it.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I love it. And then when you get the Radiant Wise, or the WS squared, you get colors that appeal to you, which when a deck appeals to you, when a deck speaks to you, you're going to read super intuitively with it.
Yeah.
You're going to trust it, and you're going to like it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, color is important.
Yeah.
Can I show you my card?
Oh, yes, please.
All
yes.
right.
Whoa. Oh, my God.
See,
Oh, yeah.
not in a comfortable situation. He is pure being yoked. Don't touch this. This is mine. But
Yes, yes, yes.
see, what's beneath him is this little pile here that he's not protecting is fruit and nuts. That squirrel don't give nothing care about what this man is defending against the squirrel, but that he left what was most important to the squirrel and probably to himself. That's his sustenance. He's gonna die without that food, but it's wide open for that squirrel to take.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I love that. So
yeah.
this one I would read more as, watch what assets you're protecting. You might be protecting the wrong assets.
Oh, I love that. Yes. No, it's a lovely deck. It feels like it's a well thought through deck, and that it really has something to sort of like offer, so yeah.
It's easy to read with, but that is one of the, and it is strange that it's easy to read with because it is one of the decks that twist the wands and the swords, where swords are fire and wands are air.
Okay.
But it's so obvious in the artwork which is which that it makes it more intuitive.
Okay.
Very easy, surprisingly
Yeah.
easy to read with.
So the Four of Pentacles. Well, I think, like, after the year that we've all had, I wouldn't be surprised if this card comes up a lot in the readings.
Wait, I tell you one more thing. This is so stupid. So, my husband and I were playing one of the games out of the easiest way to learn tarot ever. And he was doing the this happens to you, this happens to me. And I don't remember what card was for him. And this was years ago. So we didn't have the COVID virus going on. He got the Four of Coins for this happens to me, like
Yeah.
the opposite.
You.
And at the time, it's like I go through these phases where there's always one thing. Every time I go to the grocery store, I have to buy it until somebody says, Mom, Jesus, we have enough ketchup. You can stop buying ketchup now. I got about 16 bottles of cooking oil. I just this it's like this OCD thing where I just buy the same thing over and over thinking I don't have enough of it. And I was going through it with toilet paper before a toilet paper shortage. And Paul said, when he said, this happens to you, why the hell do you hoard toilet paper? Well, now we know. I don't really hoard it.
That is so funny. That is so funny. And he does look a little bit like he's sitting on a toilet as well, doesn't he? That is really funny.
So,
oh my God. Yeah.
Now he's really glad that I went through that phase.
Yes, we all know where to come to when the world runs out.
All my neighbors are so happy too. It's like, hey, how you doing on toilet paper? Here you go. It's like...
That's hilarious. Oh, wow. Any more to say on the Four of Coins before we bid him farewell? And
I think we've exhausted.
Yeah, we're going to sort of move on to that glorious happy place. 5.
I'll see you soon.
Bye, Sharon.
Bye.